Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, die-in time is here. That's right, we're talking about Silent Rage on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It is your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from High Point, Texas. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And of course, there's only one person I trust to make sure that I've seen a pair like those before. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Well, it's good that you said that because you know what time it is, Patrick.
Oh, what time is it?
It's time for love.
Gina, I have two paragraphs on It's Time for Love. But just know the information on It's Time for Love is scant. But
I'm not surprised.
And everything that could be found has been found.
Like you couldn't find like an official video for it on YouTube with clips from Love Theme from Silent Rage.
It would be great if in sort of dual filter where you see the profile of the singer, whose name I won't reveal right now, and clips from the movie, and almost I don't want to miss a thing Armageddon style music video. Someone with the ability to do that, please do that. But we are going to get to that sequence, Gina. I promise you, it is perhaps 85% of the reason why I wanted to do an episode on 1982's Silent Rage. So I don't want to scare you, Gina, but we are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest, and you may know him from all sorts of fantastic media adventures. Let's say you might love him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine or The Book of Boba Fett. But of course, now you know him as a returning champion to Kill by Kill, the one, the only, Galen Howard. How are you doing today, Galen?
Well, I'm doing well. I think you're aware of my journey in preparation for this. We had spoken months ago about possibly doing Primal Rage.
Yes, so we talked about it. Yeah,
Silent Rage. I just thought, oh well, he must still mean Primal Rage. So I watched both Primal Rage and Silent Rage in the last 24 hours. And that's not even the saddest thing. The saddest thing is that they were both repeat viewings.
See, Galen, that's why you're the right kind of sicko to come on here to Kill by Kill and talk about these movies, because I'm not really forcing you so much to do this. I'm just adjusting your calendar.
100%. And I also have to say up top that it is requiring all the restraint and stamina I have to not not get into the reveal behind the timeless classic Time for Love.
Right.
So I will nobly, leave that unto you, the host. But
it is a good story.
It's a doozy, boy. It's a gem. It's a treat. Yeah.
Yes. So buckle up, everybody. So now, Galen, since this is a repeat viewing for you, when was the first time you cast your eyeballs upon 1982 Silent Rage?
It was a few years ago. I think I was. I was fascinated, with all of the nooks and crannies of Chuck Norris's career, because he's also done another kind of horror film. I think,
right,
Hellbound in the 90s. I think, which I think has the distinction of being the very last canon production.
Went out on top.
Yes. And that was him basically battling the devil, and they make it they try to make it seem like a horror film. It's not. It's just a very boring a Chuck Norris movie. This one is, and in similar fashion, I feel like I I feel like I know less about. I can tell you less about the story the second time.
Well, you get lost in the details. And that's really where I think this movie lives, are these minute details within the film. Because the story in and of itself is not that excitingly told. It's certainly nothing that's going to stay with you in terms of plot or story. It is these weird, odd elements that are embedded within the film, often not intentionally, that make it a fascination for me. And also, there's the fact that once a year, we like to do an action horror hybrid. We've bounced about in the timeline and all sorts of leads as to, we've done Commando, we've done Your Predator. Last year, we did End of Days, which Gina Radcliffe, End of Days. End of Days is the Godfather in comparison to this. And that's saying something. There's so much production value in End of Days.
That is true.
And the details are weird.
Oh, yeah.
Gina, was this a first time watch? Did I force you to watch?
Oh, no. I've seen this before. I probably watched it on cable.
Sure.
Back when, this was probably running on HBO, once every 2 or 3 days. Yes. I haven't seen it in a while. There were certain details that I had forgotten. And yeah, Galen's right. Like when you watch it a second time, it makes less sense somehow.
And really, it's not that fantastical. I mean, if I wanted to give people like the barest minimum of breakdown, you have a person who is having mental health issues. He's driven over the edge by a stained glass window. I'm not really sure what it is. That or children's guns.
I think it is more that the mom continuously shouting at her children to shut up because they're making too much noise playing outside.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I was, would have ran after her with an axe too after a certain point.
And we'll get into those details. But essentially, the police are called. He kills a couple of people. He's shot to death. They take him to the hospital. And after he, passes on the surgical table, the doctors that are still there decide to shoot him up with a magical formula they don't explain. And honestly, doesn't matter. But it heals all his wounds. But it hasn't helped his mind at all. And so now he's an unkillable murder machine. And you have the setup for Chuck Norris versus Michael Myers. Let's call him Michael Myers.
I was going to say more of a Frankenstein's monster, but
that's what they wanted to do. That absolutely is in the mind of a person we've already talked about this year, Michael Miller, director of the classic under-listened to episode on National Lampoon's Class Reunion. But this is a direct fucking quote from the same interview that I quoted for that episode. I think the idea was to try and broaden the audience in that it wasn't just a karate movie. In my mind, it was a Frankenstein movie. It was like Frankenstein meets Chuck. Miller did say, however, that the film was written for Chuck Norris in mind. Quote, "You don't hire Chuck Norris to not do karate."
Oh, God. Apparently not. Apparently not.
And then he further goes on to say that the film was absolutely not inspired by any slasher movies. Quote, "I'm not a fan of those. When I read it, I thought it was Frankenstein, and that's what I was heading towards. Well, we'll have these mad scientists bringing this guy back to life, and Chuck will have to try and apprehend him." And my response to this is, you can say that with your mouth whole and all, but if that's not the case, if you don't want to make a slasher movie, do not start the film right away with a whole lot of synth soundtrack and try to give us John Carpenter's Halloween style oneers. Like, I hate those movies. I'm not doing anything like that. And then immediately ape the living fuck out of that thing you supposedly hate.
Yeah, and then ending on the end question mark
with a Carrie ending straight out of Friday the 13th. Yeah. So at various points in this movie, it is both aping Halloween and Halloween 2, if not other nods to various other slasher films. It is genuinely attempting to be a slasher. I don't know why he's trying to cover it up after the fact. He may not have approached it that way, but that's certainly how he filmed it.
Yeah.
The movie was mostly panned when released in theaters. It made about $10.5 million. No one on the internet lists what the budget was, who was behind it on the studio side, why they decided to get, this is Chuck Norris's first major movie studio movie for Columbia. Nothing about this movie is on the internet. Everyone is actively trying to erase its existence, but they can't erase the reviews. So I'm only going to pick one. And boy, there were some choice fucking blurbs. This is from Variety. Rage seems as if it were made with the demographic sampler entitled 10 Sleazy Ways to Cash In on the Exploitation Market. The only trouble is the filmmakers have employed all 10 techniques in one picture. And as a result, it is a combination horror, kung fu, odor, woman in peril, mad scientist film with more unintentional laughs than you would think possible in the space of 100 minutes.
Yeah, I'll agree with that last part.
Accurate. And so with that in mind, let us recount the tale of Chuck versus homicidal Frankenstein. Folks, we open on a stained glass window, and it's possibly the movie's best performance.
No.
What?
I told you last night that I think that, Ron Silver thinks he's in a real movie.
Ron Silver can't turn it off.
Activist Ron Silver.
Activist Ron Silver cannot turn it off. He will always be Ron Silvering it wherever he goes.
He's just bringing a David Mamet intensity to like a role as like the voice of reason who dies for his reservations. Yeah,
he lives and dies. It doesn't matter if it's bullshit. He's giving it all for this bullshit.
He's got a great corpse face. He's just like, bah.
Oh, we'll get to the corpse.
The corpse reveal, wonderful.
Top 10. So after we get through the credit sequence, which is lit by this stained glass window that we never see again and doesn't matter at all to the plot. It's not representative of anything. They're just went to this location. They found it. They're like, that's a title sequence. I'm unconvinced.
Like I was waiting for it to at least like someone be defenestrated through it.
Sure. It's a little tiny. I mean, maybe one of those kids might fit through.
Right. Or at least it being shattered, like an arm going through it, punching through it or something.
Again, they needed you on the set, Galen. They needed a producer with your vision because none of that is happening.
Vision in this. There's none of that. Can't have foresight. Can't be slowing it down with any of that.
Encapsulating it within a genre, really making it visually stick out.
Yeah.
It is here that we meet John Kirby, a man who sleeps fully dressed and it dresses like he's fully repressed. And today, he does not feel good. His bedroom is not only filled with newspaper clippings scotch taped to the wall, they're in fun shapes. That's right. He's that kind of quote unquote crazy.
Yeah, he's basically what I described to you as a Temu Brian Thompson.
Yes.
There's a bit of that. Yes, I can see that.
That being said, he's in a lot of movies. Like he's in Shawshank Redemption. You would never put these two performances together and go, that's the same guy. But he shows up in a shit ton of stuff.
Brian Libby is the actor?
Yes.
Yeah, with his pronounced features in this, he looked kind of like a cross between like Ron Perlman and Bub from Day of the Dead.
Oh, fuck, Galen, that is a deadly accurate shot from the outside. Holy shit, nothing but net on that description of how Brian Libby looks. And I also don't think he shows up in very many other movies with a ton of hair. And here, it's the last remnants of whatever glorious mane he was rocking in the 70s.
100%.
There's a lot of camera shadows up against the wall because, again, this is a oneer. There are no cuts here, But I don't know if this director has the kind of, I don't know, John Carpenter level skills to pull off a oneer like that. And it's evident by the constant appearance of a boom shadow, a camera, or a camera shadow.
Yeah, he also doesn't have a Dean Cundy.
No,
he definitely doesn't have a Dean Cundy here.
No, we would kind of need that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they are desperately trying to communicate that John is on the edge. But I'm having trouble being afraid of someone who he himself is scared of dudes with empty laundry baskets. He meets a guy on the stairs with a laundry basket and reacts as if he is holding a live white tiger.
Yeah, he definitely has some trauma involving laundry baskets because he flinches away from this thing. Yes.
Yes. Like what in his past that happened with plastic white laundry baskets has driven him over the edge. But he looks at it and flinches as if, what are you carrying in that plastic cage, wizard? Mm-hmm. His underwear, I'm afraid to say, is what he's carried up the stairs. Don't worry about that character. We'll talk about him later because next we got to talk about doomed mom and her parenting techniques. Now, throughout this oneer, there are 3 children who all appear to be the same age, but also all related to the point where this mother is freely telling them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, the mother seems to be running a combination boarding house, halfway house, and child daycare center.
Yes,
and yet she is just like down to her last nerve,
right? And has no method or methodology to deal with it. She keeps telling them to come inside, go outside, come inside, go outside, touch this, don't touch that. Make a decision, lady. The kids never stop yelling. She has zero power in this situation. But finally, this drives John to the absolute edge. He receives a phone call from a psychiatrist, comes down, gets freaked out by a laundry basket, and tells the guy on the other end, dude, I'm losing it. And then in the history of taking pills badly, Gina, on this show, and we've had some fucking doozers, right? Just absolute gold medal. I can't take a pill. This is perhaps the worst because he pops that bottle open like it's a champagne cork and every pill goes flying.
Yeah, there's a lot of this might be the worst version of something we've seen, and we'll get to another one in a few minutes. And in this same scene.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Just buckle up, everybody. He goes outside. He grabs an axe from a wood pile. He goes into the chicken coop. I don't know, to take in the aura. Just to give everyone a chance to reset inside, I suppose, and finally comes back inside. And doomed mom knows shit has gone sideways because she tries to small talk him into parenting, right? Which this man does not know about your parenting ordeals.
This is not someone you make small talk with.
No. You take that $75 a month or whatever she's earning, and you just go back up to your room and sweat in your button-down shirt, please. But no, he's not having that today, and he decides time to start swinging this axe and making contact. He chases her upstairs. And wouldn't you know?
Go ahead. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead and say it.
He comes upstairs and starts whacking away on the door she's on the other side of. Again, communicating that you've seen popular horror movies, but only they make really solid interior doors in Texas by the look of it.
Yeah. Yes. And this is, but remember, this shot is not referencing another classic axe through the door thing that we might have seen maybe 2 years prior.
No. That would be ridiculous. This is Frankenstein. This is classic universal horror shit here.
Right.
And so luckily for all of us, Mr. Laundry Basket comes in for the safe, and John says he's not having any of it. He knows without that laundry basket in his hand, he has no power here. And he takes a quote unquote swing at Mr. Laundry Basket. And they cover it with the guy's head, in between camera. And it's the lightest of taps. And he comes back with a minor gash. But the best part of it is the exasperated exhale that we get after he turns around to show us the makeup effects.
It's like, this is what I get for trying to help.
It's like he's been holding his breath. It's not giving horror. It's not. We've had some wild ass deaths on this show, but this is one of the weirdest reactions to an axe lightly tapping you on the forehead that I've ever come across.
And then we have, we like to do a thing called "I've had a good run."
Yes,
in which a person who is facing their imminent demise just sort of gives up. Yeah. Like they don't attempt to fight back or anything. I think we might have a yet another all-time champion in this mother who blocks herself in a room and then proceeds to simply crouch down a corner and cry and scream.
Even worse than that, Gina. This is one of the wildest fucking reactions I've ever seen, because we all know the scream advice. Running upstairs when you should be running out the front door. She's been blockaded from running out the front door, but she does have an exit, and that is the window that she has struggled to get open. She gets one arm and one leg outside and decides, let me turn back and see what the situation is, and that is. You have an exit. I would be throwing myself out of that. She
also doesn't wait to open the window until he's already in the room.
Yes. It's been a struggle, but honestly, it is fully fucking open by the time that he is in the room. And all she has to do is walk outside. I mean, literally just make this dude a target for Texas cops who, even in 1982, did not need an excuse to just shoot you for whatever reason they wanted. But because the script tells her to, she takes herself out of the open window to get back into the room to be hatcheted to death by John Kirby.
Yep. It's like, well, nothing more I can do. I tried everything.
Listen, I got 2 limbs outside. Isn't that enough? I should be saved by now. Nope. She's hatcheted to death. This is when the camera pans down to the yard and we meet Sheriff Daniel Dan Stevens.
Not that one.
Not that Dan Stevens. Daniel Dan Stevens.
Daniel Dan.
He has a mustache. That's all the personality Chuck Norris brings to the role, frankly.
That's all he brings. He brings a mustache.
What is the character description? What are his likes? What are his needs? What are his dreams? Fuck if I know. He barely speaks in this motion picture. And when he does, you wish, probably could have cut that line. Like, at some point, someone in this production must have asked him, Chuck, what do you want to communicate with his character? And I assume the response was, kick good? And that was the end. That was all the conversation you had about it. So
yeah, and squinting.
So,
the first close up that we get of him is a real mean squint.
Yeah, this movie is really under the delusion. And it's not just this film. This must be in Norris's writer. He wants eye close-ups. He wants people to see into the soul of Chuck Norris. And you're just looking at it and it looks like, oh, Macy's doesn't have the Christmas decorations up. Maybe tomorrow. There's nothing there.
Yeah, because at this point he had done what he had done what, like, Good Guys Wear Black. This was before this was right before the peak era, the Norris-sance, you could say.
Yeah, it is really. He does a lot of indies. Good Guys Wear Black, The Octagon. and he had obviously had a whole thing. He was in Bruce Lee's last movie. That fight that he is in is genuinely fucking awesome. There's just no doubt that physically he was a great, fighter at one point in his life. And there are many moments in this where you're like, holy shit, when he gets up there and kicks a dude in the face, it's something. Like, there's a lot of physical effort going into this. That being said, the movie struggles to come up with reasons for him to do it because he's a guy who walks around with a gun, and his response to most things are, I'm going to punch you with my right fist. I'm going to punch you again with my right fist. And that takes care of most people. He doesn't have to do a lot of, roundhouse karate kicks for whatever reason.
Yeah. Though I mean, his confidence in that regard, definitely, I guess it would explain, why he, goes into the house, no gun drawn.
No.
Like, doesn't really even, he just like walks straight ahead.
His backup waits outside for some reason. Although it makes sense because his backup is an idiot.
His backup is Deputy Stephen Furst was Junior Keller, the unseen Furst.
Yeah.
And as a comedy player, this is not a role that he's served best in. Again, he will show up for this same director in Class Reunion, again, not being particularly funny. And you could definitely point to performances before this and after this where he is genuinely funny. And it's like, what was happening in 1981?
Yeah, but I guess he's on sort of like a sheriff trainee program.
Yes.
And he almost accidentally shoots Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is kind of like, which is definitely a reaction one has when they are almost shot.
If there was a Make-A-Wish for 28-year-old men, I guess being Sheriff Chuck Norris's deputy might be something you could get away with, but that's how he's basically treated throughout this. But I don't think he's learning much because Chuck Norris doesn't come off as much of a cop either. When he enters the house, he does so with the energy of investigating mail fraud. He checks not one, not two, but 3 different closets. And at a certain point, you're like, I don't think the guy's in the closet. You saw him on the 2nd floor. Like, we observed this with our eyeballs.
It's like, I'm going to give him a little time to make sure he's done killing this lady.
He might have snuck into this pantry. No, he did not. So they have a bit of a tete-a-tete upstairs. They run downstairs. They come crashing through the front door. And that is when Deputy Stephen Furst was Junior Keller, the unseen Furst, shoots at his head. And Chuck Norris reacts with it's a Tuesday, my guy. Come on. It's the most emotion you see out of him in the entire film, with one exception.
And it's vaguely annoyed.
So after this nearly murder of your boss, Chuck Norris and John, the murderer Kirby, run off into a local abandoned area that you would only find a group of 2x4s and perhaps wooded porn. And they have a fight. I don't know. It doesn't last particularly long, and it's not particularly memorable. And it ends when Chuck cranks John over the head with a loose 2x4, handcuffs him, and puts him in the back of a cruiser. And that, of course, is where we meet Dr. Tom Holloman, played by actor-activist Ron Silver. He was such a great therapist to John that John's only murdered 2 people so far. So banner year for him.
Yeah, not too bad.
In doing research for this episode, someone had mentioned that Ron Silver had the funniest IMDb photo they've ever seen. Please look into your DMs and look at Ron Silver's IMDb photo and tell me, what does it evoke for you? I mean, you can't. It's hard to describe. Okay, I'm going to give you a little leeway.
Where's the where's the photo?
It's in your Instagram DMs.
Oh, the IG.
Yes.
Okay.
To me, he looks like his name was just announced on Monday Night Football as the next person to get kicked in the nuts at halftime.
I'm getting a sort of like Chat GPT Al Pacino.
He looks like he just saw a naked ghost. I mean, not to put aspersions on a lovely actor I have genuinely good feelings about.
I thought that but your IMDb was like, you submitted like a headshot. Like I thought that's how people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like something like maybe something like a photo taken at like a premiere after party.
Yes, and I
realize he's no longer with us, but like presumably there would still be actual headshots on
someone has his
somewhere.
IMDb Pro handle. Yeah, I do believe in my heart of hearts that he loved this photo and he put it up on IMDb.
It just seems like he's like he's spent an evening consuming many cocktails of the vodka and shrimp variety.
I mean, he did work on Broadway with Madonna. Maybe it caught him. He accidentally walked into her dressing room or something.
To wit, he looks like he was just confirmed to be the father on Maury, but the baby is a turtle.
Yes.
It is a mix of surprise and delight. That is I genuinely feel like he saw this, from whatever premiere he was at, and he goes, "That's the best photo that I've ever taken. That is me in a nutshell.
This captures who I am."
When you see this, you're gonna smile and go, "Ron, actor, activist, Silver, I love you."
But you know what?
It
did.
It's pretty great.
Yes. Yeah. He did make a weird rightward turn towards the end of his life, but I
was gonna say I forgive you for turning into a 9/11 truther, Ron Silver.
Yeah,
I mean that's why we focus more on the actor than the activist.
Yes, we don't want to know what he was an activist for. That's the last thing we need to hear about. That being said, I will include this in social media so that everyone can see this picture of actor activist Ron Silver looking as if he just saw a UFO and the lights read out, "Suck it."
Again, I'm for me, I'm more thinking about less of what's happening in the moment and more what happened the night before.
Makes sense. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, 1982 Silent Rage. So John the Murderer Kirby manages to pull apart his handcuffs from behind his back, which is really saying something. The dude is strong, and he punches one cop. He shoves another. He sends one cop through a windshield. He grabs a shotgun, to which Sheriff Dan Stevens yells out, "Don't shoot," to his officers. So you know what happens next? They immediately gun John down.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that Sheriff Dan does not actually have I think he's just sort of given like these different deputies, like they just rotate him from week to week, and he just has no control over them whatsoever.
He is staffed his department through Plinko exclusively. He just has found the weirdest people to be a part of this. And it'll get even weirder as we go on. I really have no sense of responsibility when it comes when people say defund the police. I'm saying start with Sheriff Dan's department first. I would like to think that anyone who is performing a surgery, as these many doctors we'll talk about in just a second are doing, that they aren't doing as much crowd work and insult comedy as we see in the surgery scene.
God, I hope not.
They're just ranking on everybody. And it's like, you suck because you left this to go be a psychologist. And you just inject people. And what's wrong with your glasses? It's a whole fucking thing. Less said about that, the better. But even worse than that, when Sheriff Daniel Dan Stevens checks in on the condition of John Kirby, we get to meet a doctor whose dubbing is very suspicious. Let's put it this way. On The Simpsons, Apu is a more richly textured characterization than what we hear. I'm not going to impersonate it because that, in my mind, would be a hate crime.
Yeah, like what's on screen here.
Yeah, it's
great.
I don't know that actor was cast to have an Indian or Pakistani Southeast Asian accent, or they just decided, let's make the worst version of that and dub it in later. Either way, bad. But let's get back to our very bad trio of terrible mad doctors. Let's start with a person we've already met, Dr. Thomas Tom Hallman. His nickname, by the way, on IMDb, on Wikipedia, I don't know why everyone has a fucking nickname. I just decided for people who don't have a nickname, I'm just going to give it to them. So let's also meet Dr. Philip Philly Spires and Dr. Paul Vaughn, who are trying to save John's life, but to no avail. And then Philly Phil decides to shoot up this dead guy's brain with a bunch of palm juice and bring him back to life against Dr. Thomas Hallman's wishes.
Let's stop for a moment. So this is established by the living, breathing hate crime.
Yeah,
that they're in a research hospital.
Exactly.
So generally speaking, a research hospital does not lack from corpses,
right? Yeah,
to do experiments on. And yet, Dr. Paul's idea is, let's take this crazed maniac who just chopped up a woman to bits in her home and use him as an experiment for our cell regenerating serum.
Yes, they're going to make a recent murderer with vast psychological issues into a Wolverine, which sounds like a bad idea when you say it out loud.
And
but
it is a bad idea.
It is a bad idea. Even if you wrote it down, it would be a bad idea. If you scratched it into someone's paint job, it would be a bad idea. It's just a fucking bad idea. And nothing about this is ever explained. They constantly list the properties of this palm juice in units, which I'm not sure is how one describes a liquid amount, but okay, whatever. I don't fucking come to silent rage for medical accuracy.
But Dr. Tom is like, well, you can't do that. He's a crazed killer. Dr. Paul's like, or Dr. Phil's like, bah! We do what we can with what we have with this single corpse in our research hospital.
What's the worst that could happen? 1982's Silent Rage is the worst that could fucking happen, asshat. So here we go. Now, when you think that the family relationships are over, I promise you they are not. You see, Dr. Thomas Tom Hallman has a sister named Allison Hallman, who used to sleep with Sheriff Daniel Dan Stevens and says that she's definitely not going to do that again. And then does it again for reasons I can't understand for the life of me, because Chuck Norris is anti-charm in this.
Oh my God. The scene where she's driving him and he's like poking at her ear.
What are you fucking in third grade? What is your problem?
How are you not just pulling over and pushing him out?
She has definitively said, I am not interested in sleeping with you again. I'm giving you a ride home to be nice. And he's like, what if I grab my junk and I put it in your ear? Like, stop, asshat. But of course, this is how you warp people's brains, because this is his reaction to being told no, and slam cut to them in bed together. This somehow fucking worked.
And she's still mildly protesting.
Yes.
She's not happy about it.
She's instantly
there's a resignation about it all.
She's like, well,
It's like
this might as well happen, which is always the best attitude you want from your lover is, I guess.
This was a mistake. It's almost as if, when you're not sure if something's gone bad in the refrigerator and you taste a little bit of it and then you find out for sure it's gone bad. That's her, but it's a dick in her vagina. Some stuff happens in between here, but who fucking cares? Let's cut away from this so we can have
I think rotten milk in your orifices would be a better option.
I think you'd feel better afterwards for sure. You certainly wouldn't go, you know what? This makes me feel like it's old times coming back. That is not something that I think you would think of. But let us forget this. Take the taste of this out of our mouths, so that we can have a diner scuffle with a group of bikers who look like Ali's gang from Friday the 13th, Part 3D.
I thought the exact same thing.
This must be what bikers were in 1982.
Yeah, we never have random biker gangs show up in movies anymore. Like I realized last year there was that movie about a biker gang,
right? The Bike Riders.
Yeah, but like you never have like characters just randomly encountering biker gangs anymore.
Yeah, we have little any which way but loose. Should be so. It was so popular, you would think everyone would be drafting multiple angles from it, and it seemed to split into two places: insert a monkey into this, or random biker gang, and then they just both kind of petered out after a while. But it's combining the two that makes for a box office sensation.
Yeah, I would not have been fazed if a monkey had entered this scene.
I would not have been fazed if Chuck Norris's actual deputy was an orangutan.
Was an orangutan. Yeah.
If they pinned a badge to his fur, gave him a cowboy hat, told him, quick, do a monologue about killing a puppy when you were a boy.
Yes. Same effect, basically.
If there's one word I would use to describe Chuck Norris as an actor, it would be natural. In that the way that he pauses to raise his leg onto a truck bumper while talking to his deputy in such a way that he practically mouths the stage directions as he does it. Natural. Like this is true sense memory shit. He takes it to a time, a place. His internal motivations. They're all over his face. They're all over his body.
Right. But you don't get the feeling that this is like, these are like motions, a series of motions learned, much like, click training an animal.
Right. He has now, at this point, been on camera for a decade. And you would think this was -1 times he's been on camera. It is ungood. And this is where we're just going to get into a brief interlude here before we proceed any further. Because as I've alluded to in the past, Chuck Norris was my favorite aunt's favorite actor. A truly mind-blowing realization. Just something that you wonder, why would she admit this? Because she was open and she didn't care what other people thought. And she loved Dateline and literally had a wall of videotapes with every Dateline recorded. Because it's not like there's going to be a machine on the internet that's going to have all that shit for you now. No, she didn't trust it. She needed VHS tapes. She also collected crazy fucking dolls. And one time I slept in the bedroom that she had all those collected dolls in. How much sleep did I get? Negative sleep. It actually sapped previous evening's sleep out of me. I slept better in an impromptu Mexican graveyard. That's right, impromptu. But she loved Chuck Norris. There was something about him. Maybe she projected, emotions onto him, projected a good actor, projected characters, whatever it was. She just liked the formula of most of his movies. And she in particular loved Lone Wolf McQuade, a movie that I must tell people about just one sequence. At one point, Lone Wolf McQuade, who's told he is too reckless, is going after a particular drug dealer, but that drug dealer sets him up, and he drives his truck into a pit, and they quickly bury Lone Wolf McQuade under the ground in his truck. His response to this is to pop the top of a Coors can, drink some of it, and then drive out of being buried alive. And you're saying, well, where's the tension in that, Patrick? Good fucking question. But that is Shakespeare compared to Silent Rage. Let us return to the action. So Dr. Thomas Tom Hallman, Dr. Philip Philly Spires, and Dr. Paul Vaughn have created a formula that makes DNA look like crystal structures that allow John the Murderer Kirby to heal from every wound. How do they prove this? They just randomly cut him with a scalpel, and that wound doesn't bleed at all, by the way. It just closes itself back off.
Yeah, and like I said, Dr. Phil is utterly uninterested in the possible negative impact that the serum could have.
Yes. Whereas Dr. Paul hears everyone's, positive and negative complaints about this and goes, okay. Just very placid about all of this.
Yeah.
He's not here to make a decision.
That was some of the, those the self-healing scenes were some of the most impressive manual pushing back together of latex that I've seen in quite a while.
No, they really make it happen. And what helps is that there's zero liquid involved. They cut into a candle and the candle heals itself. And you're like, right. But Patrick, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what to tell you. Drive yourself out of being buried alive in your car with your car. Papa Coors, motherfucker. This is Silent Rage. So the only issue that Sheriff Dan Stevens has with all of this is he really wants that body back for an autopsy, which really would throw a wrench in this trio of doctors' illegal medical experiment gambit. So they kind of keep coming up for reasons like, he's not ready yet. Do you have the ticket? I sent you a text. Can you give me that code? And he's like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, come back Monday. And for whatever reason, Sheriff Dan Stevens just keeps playing this off. Like, eventually they'll give me that dead body. Do they ever give it to him? And then we are treated to a monologue from Stephen Furst about killing a dog, and in the rare amount of behind the scenes information I could find, apparently this was an improv. I'm not convinced he would have made his Herald team. That's all I'm going to say about Stephen Furst, an actor I genuinely likes improv abilities.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like, it's like, okay, he's obviously a comic relief.
Yeah,
right.
But also he dies later in the movie.
Spoiler alert for a movie you absolutely should watch. But knowing that will not prepare you. It will not in any way, shape, or form.
No.
We can talk this thing to death, but I promise you need to see it with your eyeballs. You need to open up your lids and have it reflect against your cones and rods to really make this come to life. But you're saying to yourself, I don't know. This has been a lot of movies so far in which Chuck Norris has not kicked a man in the face. Well, you're in luck, because remember when we talked about those bikers from Friday the 13th 3D? Well, a whole bunch they've multiplied like gremlins, and they've taken over a bar and strung up the barkeep onto a wood post. Now, Chuck Norris seems to ESP this while driving by. I'm not entirely sure how he gleans that bad stuff is happening inside of this bar with zero visual evidence. But he tells Steven Furst to pull the fuck over.
That seems to be a thing among like action stars of this era, like Chuck Norris. You see it with Seagal all the time.
Yeah,
is like the crime vision of being able to like walk upon a building or drive by and know that there's bad news.
Yes, this reminds me a little bit of one of my favorite fight scenes of all time in a truly terrible motion picture. Steven Seagal's true auteur moment of Out for Justice, a film I think he thought he was making his on the waterfront. And really what he's making is You Should Have Drowned in the Water. There's a fight scene that's fantastic. It's the most I've ever seen Steven Seagal move. And he beats the fuck out of so many people. He puts a cue ball into a towel and just fucks people's shit up for 5 minutes. It's so much fun. And the movie is so terrible. We have to talk about it one day, Gina.
Must we?
We must. I insist. Perhaps it'll be our action movie for 2026. But now you would think we need an excuse for Chuck Norris to whoop a bunch of ass in the middle of a decidedly non-action filled movie. But really, what this is an excuse for is for Steven Furst to find another level for his monologue. And that is describing to the guy that he's been told to call for backup. But instead, he is describing the breasts of the woman who recently exposed her breasts to him. Yeah. Instead of saying, come and help the sheriff, he's beating up an entire biker gang by his lonesome.
Yeah, right.
I mean, could you do worse describing seeing breasts for the first time? Absolutely.
No, I mean, not even. Like even like the descriptions of breasts in 40-Year-Old Virgin were
right.
Were more accurate to any human experience.
Yeah. And so he just beats the living hell out of a bunch of people. And I don't even think he uncuts the guy who's been strapped to a pole at the end of it. At one point, a biker decides to drive his bike out of the bar through a window, and the bike goes out, but he doesn't because Chuck Norris hits him with a pool cue. So that's what you're dealing with.
Yep. But I'm sure you can explain me, Patrick, the point of this like 5+ minute biker brawl scene in the course of the film. It's
to have something to wake the audience up because they may have fallen asleep of it until this point.
Right. To have the karate that you don't pay Chuck Norris not to do.
Exactly. That's exactly what this. Also, you really want to have that audience get their dander up because we're about to get to the centerpiece in more ways than one of Silent Rage. And that's the star of the show. It's called Chuck Norris's love scene. Oh, now, this love scene is a little bit famous in that Chuck Norris swore up and down he was never going to do another one because his fans responded to it so poorly. And they said, please never do a love scene again. And he sort of assumed that they were conservative by nature. He just felt it was too explicit. They didn't want to view him as a sexual creature. They wanted to view him as a hero who was above all of that. But I think he misinterpreted it. I think they said, please don't do a love scene like that again. Specifically, that love scene is fucking insane and my brain has not recovered from it. Please never attempt to do that again.
Please don't do that because otherwise child reproductive rates will come to a screeching halt.
When younger generations are like, I don't really like love scenes in movies. What we don't realize is they're specifically referring to the love scene from 1982's Silent Rage.
That's what it is. That's why they don't make them anymore.
Director Michael Miller says Norris was most comfortable while fighting, but the actor did improvise a lot during his love scene with Tony Caleb. Quote, and that was a big deal for him. I said, just talk and have fun with her. We're not going to hear any of it, and we just want to see you enjoy one another. He did, and it's a nice little scene. No, Michael Miller. No, it is not.
No.
Right.
No, this is like this whole scene is a case for intimacy coordinating.
I think you're absolutely right. And then within the scene, so much of it is absolutely mind melting. Let's start with a little yacht rock, complete with a pitch perfect doobie shuffle. This is turned off initially when Allison Holloman wants to get back together with Sheriff Daniel Stevens, but I don't really care. I'm more interested in this song. So the music and lyrics for "It's a Time for Love" are credited to Morgan Stoddard, who appeared in multiple TV shows. He has acting credits in things like The Dukes of Hazzard and stuff. But what's much more important is that the vocals are by one Katie Seagal.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Married with Children's Katie Seagal. Now,
does she know she did this?
I can't guarantee. I don't know if this is pre-sobriety or post-sobriety. I think that would tell a lot of the tale. But obviously, she had been a backup singer for Bette Midler for a long time, and then done plenty of vocals and plenty of things. And she's quite a good singer.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell from this. I mean, it's like I think I remember looking it up just because I was like, because this person has a wonderful voice, and then
yes,
yeah,
I've been waiting to join Beyond Yacht Rock's Patreon to suggest a song because I couldn't find a good one. But I think this is it. This is the song I'm going to submit, because while there's no personnel that I can find on it, and I'll grant you, it's too country to really be full-fledged Southern yacht. I'm not sure. It's on the edge, but it's obviously going for a radio sound. I don't think the peak, I don't think it's, the right sound for 82. It's more like 1980, which would put it in the yacht rock sweet spot. I would put it on a boat, but barely with the 56. But I don't have a say in the yacht.
It definitely has a 70s vibe. It kind of has that sort of like that. The backing band has kind of that like Ricky Lee Jones, Maria Moldauer.
Well, that's very West Coast. But yacht rock is more elevated than that because it's really taking a jazz element into it. And it's that sweet spot of trying to make that jazz sound into popular music. And so is this too country? Is it just that country is that far behind popular music? I don't know. They're the experts. I would leave them to that. So now that we have addressed the soundtrack, we really need to talk about this montage, which is astounding on multiple levels. Firstly, as noted, Chuck can't act. So asking him to improvise is perhaps even worse. At one point, Allison asks, "Would you like that?" And they cut back to him, and he reacts as if she has just taken a shit on his couch. Like the basic ask here is to look like you're happy. And most of the time, he appears as if he has been asked to eat flies for lunch. The song kicks in, and they're standing and sitting and standing and sitting. And then comes the loving. And of course, you can tell that the loving has begun because the camera pans along the carpet, and we see panties and freeweights on the ground.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Shorthand for afternoon delight. This guy worries about his biceps, and she wore underwear to this, I guess. In the immediate afterglow, she is wearing his sheriff's button up, and he's back in his jeans, or maybe fucked in his jeans. I don't really know. But on the bed is a tray that contains cheese, domestic champagne, and an apple sliced open, but with the core included. right in the center.
They just got their charcuterie plate right on the bed.
Right on the bed.
Yeah, you have like one of those little apple cores. They just like went plunk and then just and then it's like
you would use an apple slice for it. And I get that, but who includes the apple core in your cheese? Your charcuterie
right
board.
There, yeah.
What purpose? Like, I need one thing on here that's definitely going to turn brown and make me not want to eat anything more, I guess is the methodology behind it. But seeing this apple core, rise out of the charcuterie board, gives Chuck an idea. Perhaps it is time for round 2. And so with his fist foot, he pushes that cheese board to the edge of the bed with glassware on it. And the entire time I'm like, don't. This is bad news. But wait, it gets even worse. Because after round 2, they're luxuriating on a hammock that is aggressively swinging.
Yeah, I don't know how they're just not constantly just leaning over and vomiting over the side, because like, how do you not get motion sickness from that?
This is not relaxing. This does not tell me that you are spent from the loving. You just want to be close.
She is holding on for her dear life to that hammock.
Well, it appears they're in the, it's not just swinging. It appears like they're in the middle of a windstorm.
It's about to
the branches are shaking back and forth.
It's about to do like a 360 on those trees.
It's about to spin and roll them up into a cigar.
Launch them into outer space.
Right. Yeah. No, you're expecting like Bill Paxton to run in and tell him to get in the basement.
So I have a difficult question for the two of you. Which is the least erotic sex scene, this or Mitchell?
My Mitchell is disturbing in a lot of respects. But honestly, I think Joe Don Baker communicates that he's into sex. Chuck Norris does not. When he kisses in this movie, particularly in this sequence, it is as if he's trying to clear leaves with his face. It's a lot of mustache brushing on this poor woman's face.
Yeah, I sadly have not or maybe luckily have not seen Mitchell, but so I cannot comment.
Oh. I will tell. All I will tell you is that just as Sheriff Dan pushes away the charcuterie platter with his foot, there is a much longer than there needs to be close up of a foot lifting up a 6-pack of beer from the while they're in bed.
That is either before or after Mitchell reaches out for a bottle of baby oil.
But you are right. At least there is a crumb of chemistry generated between Joe Don Baker and was it like Linda Evans or something?
Yeah, it is Linda Evans.
There's just nothing here. Nothing.
All I can say is that I had never thought, to say that I would sooner watch a love scene with Joe Don Baker than Chuck Norris. But when faced with the options, the choice is clear.
You're just calling balls and strikes here, though, because in the midst of that aggressive swinging, at some point, Allison starts to reach out for a banana, the mimosas that they have on that charcuterie board, and knocks over everything. So that's right. Wine, OJ, fruit, everywhere on that deck in Texas where bugs are relentless, straight to fucking jail. Everything about this creeps me the fuck out. And it's supposed to be, finally, those two crazy kids are together. You're like, I can't even remember their names if I didn't write them down.
Yeah. Well, it is, they're simply following Chekhov's charcuterie board.
Sure, that's right.
If it's on,
if you bring it out,
charcuterie board is on the edge of the bed. It has to get pushed off.
Yes, I am mystified as to what Allison sees in Dan, but they both decide that they're going to go on vacay together to a cabin, and that makes me wonder: how the fuck can the sheriff just go, hey, see you in 2 days? Is that something you can do where you're in charge of an entire sheriff's department? Maybe.
Right. No, it definitely, this is definitely, it's one of those moments where they definitely, like, everyone forgets the movie they're in.
Yes. They're in a completely different movie because they don't know what movie they're making. Right. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to get into a bit of Halloween 2 as John the Murderer Kirby has decided it's time to wake up and start killing people. And he sets his eyes on Dr. Thomas Tom Holloman, who says, you know, when he's asleep, you got to put that guy down. That's just, this is wrong. This is bad. Do not do this. And so he wakes up and it's murdering time. So after a bit of rigmarole, which Dr. Tom basically communicates that he's just like done with it. And, hey, wife, did you make anything for dinner? And she's like, no, but I can go grab pizza. And he's like, pizza would be great. So she goes to grab pizza. And he decides it's time to work on my photography downstairs. But before he does, he slices off a wedge of salami out of the refrigerator with what appears to be a mini scimitar. But we get a long, one-er tracking shot of John entering the house. Another example of this director yelling from the rafters, this movie is a slasher movie. The kind of movie I dislike, but I am aping the entire style of them. But there's a bit of a chase scene here. John, the murderer Kirby, has broken loose from the lab. He's off the slab to stalk a doctor with a little anticipation. And the fart synths are just extra. They chase each other around the house. The doctor does grab a gun and shoot the fuck out of John the Murderer Kirby. But as we've learned, he's been turned into a Wolverine, so that doesn't fucking matter. And he decides to strangle Dr. Thomas Tom Holloman to death. And then when his wife comes home, smashes her head into the wall multiple times. That's 2. But of course, I did mention that Allison is going to go on vacation with Sheriff Daniel Dan. And so to do that, she's got to pack a bag. And so we have 3 to 4 minutes of her packing. It's a lot.
Yeah, we're barely halfway through the movie and we've already got a lot of stress.
Yeah, it's like, do you have more footage of her packing a bag for 2 days? Yes. Does she have perfume she likes better than this one? I guess. She doesn't really smell it so much. She just goes, damn, and puts it back down on the table. Anyways, she goes into the other room to ask if, Dr. Tom's wife knows the location of that perfume, but she doesn't. It turns out she discovers her dead body in bed, and activist Ron Silver has been put in the tough position of hanging dead on the back of a door. Mm-hmm. He's been hung on a hook, and the shot is simply too long for him to hold his breath. And so we get one of our favorite things on this show, a corpse who's breathing.
But this face he's making is just like, what a treasure. He's just like, bah.
I mean, he has been strangled, so it totally makes sense. But to hold that with his eyes open, holding his breath for what feels like a full fucking minute. I mean, I'll be honest, Tommy Cruise wishes he could pull off this level of physical acting. So you can't blame him when he's got to get just a quick suck in of that sweet, sweet oxygen in the middle of the scene. I don't blame him. It's too long.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you feel like they should have caught in post, but I'm not sure there was a post in this.
Post was, did you edit that sequence together? And a guy from the other room goes, yeah, all right. Send it to theaters. Strike the print, everybody. What I really do love is in the aftermath of this, when Allison calls Dan, and he calls in the rest of the entire sheriff's department and paramedics and whatnot, is you in the background of him telling her, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. John the Murderer Kirby sneaks away from the crime scene like Sylvester the cat does when he has Tweety in his mouth. It's a lot of high stepping. Back at the Institute, John the Murderer Kirby arrives, back to the service door, pounding on the service door. And Dr. Paul and Dr. Philly Phil give him a fresh jumpsuit because why wouldn't you? And they debate what they're going to do next because now they've learned that their colleague is dead at the hands of the experiment he told them they shouldn't do in the first place. But, Philly Phil, he's like still feeling it somehow. He wants to go to the electron microscope and maybe look at it real hard and perhaps the idea will come to him. But Dr. Paul Vaughn has other ideas. And that other ideas is to load up a syringe with boiling acid and inject it straight into that dude's neck.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that Dr. Paul is played by someone who I think is fast becoming the official mascot of Kill by Kill.
Yeah.
And that is one William Finley.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, I mean, the Paradise Sisters.
Sure. When we did Brian De Palma, he was
because he showed up in a lot of his early movies.
And,
I think they were friends. I think he was friends with him in film school. I think he appeared in like one of his first films and films as a film student. I think you can find online. I mean, he's been in I think just about every one of his movies in this from like the 60s, in into the 80s too.
Yeah, he even popped up in Black Dahlia,
and he popped up in the Funhouse. He might be really up there in terms of appearances on the show over these past 9 years. So that it could be argued. It absolutely could be argued. But there's another side to this coin, Gina, and I think you might have something there too.
We briefly discussed it. It may also be Clu Gulager.
Yeah. Clu Gulager has some quality appearances from his very fake teeth in the Uninvited to the moment in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 in which he blames the explosion of a pet bird on his son taking drugs.
I think just for that alone, that makes him a strong contender.
Strong contender. So I think we'll put a poll out there on the socials and see what people think, because I would be interested to hear. Listen, there are no losers. There are only winners here because we have many appearances of both of them. And they give us characters that we can always talk about. They're never just showing up. They're always given a little something. So now we talked about Dr. Paul. He was giving a syringe full of boiling acid to this unstoppable murderer. And we have to remember they made a Wolverine. So I'm not entirely sure why he thinks this would kill him. But it takes all of 1 minute for him to come back to life, a little pissed about the whole killing me with boiling acid in the neck thing. And so he immediately stabs Dr. Paul in the neck with that same syringe. My question to the both of you, and this is necessary to talk about before we choose our own deathventure, and that is syringes, as an idea, are designed to pierce flesh and come out with doing minimal amount of damage. Like literally that's their purpose. So I'm unsure as to how this one poke in the neck with the syringe kills Dr. Paul.
I mean, I assume he just pushed the plunger down, but I don't know. It's like
enough pressure for like a rupture of some kind, but
like a blood embolism, he would have to stab it into an artery or a vein.
Right.
I mean, maybe he did. We don't come to you say yourself. We don't come to silent rage for realism.
How dare you use my own words against me, Gina Radcliffe? We are friends.
And they don't have it. They don't have it in the budget to have it go in his eye or anything.
That's
Come on.
very true. They absolutely don't. They barely have the budget to show that it's sticking out of his neck. We all this in the background of this. Deputy Stephen Furst has brought Allison to the hospital so that, in Chuck's words, they can, I don't know, give her a prescription for something like being a woman, and so. They do that. Stephen Furst tries to force cookies down her gullet every 5 seconds. And then Dr. Philly Spires makes a last minute breakthrough at the microscope and goes up to his office to have a congratulatory, "You figured it out, Scotch." And who happens to be in his doorway? That's right, the indestructible killer that he created. He invites him in, and wouldn't you know it, tries to communicate with him via touch. And how does that end for him, Gina?
Not well.
His neck gets royally snapped in half. Just not quickly enough, in my opinion. But what are you going to do? This kind of sets up our next Halloween 2 sequence in which a rampaging killer just kills as many people as he can. And because we got a half an hour left in this, we got to fill it up with something. So another doctor.
One thing they fill it up with is a lot of empty hallways.
Yes. A lot of staring and half lit hallways that are painted different colors. That way you know it's on a different level. We're not just on the same level. Another doctor is assaulted in a hallway. And then it's Deputy Stephen Furst was Junior Keller in The Unseen Furst to the rescue. And by rescue, I mean he gets bear hugged to death.
Oh, this scene when Sheriff Dan just finds his corpse. Well, he's not quite dead yet.
Yes,
but he's like, he lovingly takes him in his arms and tries to muster up some sort of look of concern on his face, and his deputy's like, he hurt me bad, and then just like, nah.
Oh God, it's ungood. Before Chuck even
is it ungood or is it great?
That's the thing. This movie might not be good, but it might be great because there are moments where it's so unintentionally brilliant. It's well worth the watch. It's boring in parts, and you're just going to have to take that on. Like the scene that happens before this when Chuck learns via a radio call that, quote, "All hell is breaking loose, Sheriff." And do you want to know what that hell consists of? A vehicle collision on the interstate and alarms at the Institute. Now, for the record, that is a total of 2 things.
It is a very small town.
But they have like 18 guys on the payroll. When people roll up in that first sequence, there are like 18 guys. There's a lot of fucking sheriff's deputies.
But if you're talking like in intelligent level and usefulness, it's really more like 6 guys.
Yeah. So yeah, Chuck tells him, "You take care of the vehicle collision. I'll take care of the rest." And before the guy can go, "I'm not sure I can do that, Sheriff," he turns off the radio and races to the hospital. And yeah, a lot of empty hallways, a lot of synth farts. At one point, John the Murderer Kirby gets down low and you see lots of veins popping in his forehead. Chuck, when he finally discovers where John the Murderer Kirby is, shoots him 6 times in the chest. No one ever goes for the fucking head with this guy. It's always the chest. And so John defenestrates out a window, falling several stories to the ground below. And you're thinking, okay, he's going to get down there, check on the corpse, and now we're going to get to a cake fight. And I promise you, we're not there yet because they have a tussle on the ground. Allison runs John over-ish. It's more of a side swipe, to be honest with you, because it's done on camera. They don't like have it hit a post and have the actor rocket back with a rig or anything like that. He just kind of hits the hood and spins around, like how they thought John O'Keefe died. And so Sheriff Daniel Dan Stevens he climbs in to the truck with Allison. They switch places. and they take off, but John is hanging onto the back of the truck bumper and manages to pull himself into the truck, at which point Sheriff Dan pushes Allison out of the moving vehicle without asking, without telling. She just doesn't know. He just goes out and pushes her out. Then he jumps himself, and the truck magically accelerates forward for reasons. And not sure why, but John, unlike a Michael Myers, can't drive. He just holds on to the steering wheel and takes it for a ride until it crashes into a ravine and blows up real good. And you're saying, well, Patrick, you've cast a lot of aspersions of this ripping off Halloween and Halloween 2. It certainly isn't ending that way, is it? Yes, it is, because John emerges out of the car and does a little firewalk and jumps into a river. The only thing that does not happen is his eyeball is being shot out. He emerges a little toasty. Let's say a muddy peanut at this point.
Yes.
And so finally, we get to see Chuck Norris fight with his hands and his feet and his feet and his hands and his hands and his feet. And some of it's impressive and some of it's a little tiring. There's a lot of jujitsu throws here that I don't think are particularly cinematic. But finally, it's revealed that they are fighting near an abandoned well. And so Chuck decides to Aikido him into that abandoned well. And Chuck and Allison embrace. Movie over. Or is it, as the camera descends into the well, Carrie ending?
Yep.
And then we get the second best music in the entire movie. That is the end theme. And then after listening to it a couple times, I was like, oh no, he's just ripping off Carpenter's Escape from New York theme. That's why I like it. Oh, all right. He saw that movie too. And yeah, there's a little. You play them back to back. You're going to hear. Any other things we just have to talk about from 1982? Silent Rage.
I mean, I genuinely enjoy watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking terrible, but it's terrible in so many entertaining ways.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, again, it is. Again, now having watched it multiple times, it is definitely a film of diminishing return.
Yes, or refinishing returns, in which the moments that you can now focus on because you're never going to think about the plot again.
Oh, right.
Call out to you and you're like, but what's happening with that charcuterie board? And that's a whole fucking right. Like the charcuterie board is the best thing in the movie, if I'm being honest with you. It's fantastic. Come for that.
I mean,
leave the rest.
I think all of the. I think ironically, I think the one of the worst scene, one of the most terrible, torturous, worst scenes of the movie, of course, being the love scene, also contains some of the best things in the movie.
Yeah.
The charcuterie board, the Katie Seagal song,
the hammock, all of it.
That windstorm hammock. Yeah.
82 must have been a whole fucking year for hammocks because it shows up here and it shows up in Friday the 13th 3D.
I think it was just somehow equated with this is something, that's very romantic to hang around, and really they're just like a pain in the ass to get in and out of.
They really suck.
100%, yeah.
And you should be able to smell a rotting corpse underneath that, a feral, dirty peanut hiding underneath.
You really should. You really should.
Well, especially with the way that wind's blowing.
Yeah. But listen, we can talk about smelling this and smelling that, but what you should be smelling is Choose Your Own Deathventure. And that's where we decide of the deaths portrayed in this motion picture if you were forced to die in one of those ways. Which one would it be and why? Up for bid today, we have mild head connection to an axe, exasperated exhale, struck multiple times in the head with an axe, or shot, die on the surgical table, strangled, hung from a hook while still breathing, Head smashed against the wall, and you're never going to get to eat that pizza. Stabbed in the neck with a syringe. Neck snapped in office. Head trauma via wall. Spine snapped and then moved around a bunch of times by Chuck Norris, which I would not recommend for spinal injuries. And then, of course, beaten to death in an elevator. And you can't even call the last death a death because we see him rise up. But we're assuming he's just going to drown over and over again. So good for him. And so, of course, now that we know the lay of the land, it is time for you, Galen, to choose your own deathventure.
I think I gotta go with the I've got to go with the with William Finley's syringe to the neck. I think it's
sure.
I think a clean death, considering, but obviously, but still has the surprise of being a fairly messy death for that syringe. So
sure.
You get to do the classic, open eyes death, with those bug eyes, staring out ahead, like, it's just a classic.
Absolutely. Good choice.
I have to ask, Galen, have you, as an actor, have you in fact played a corpse?
I have done. I have died a number of times on camera. I have had to be, on screen post death. And it's I will say, like, I totally sympathize with actor activist Ron Silver in that in the hanging scene, because it's like that, like being still and not taking that exhale, especially if they have like a lot of camera work, a lot of things going on, like that shit is tough.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Gina, what say you?
Oh, I know that when the time comes that I die, no matter how it happens, whether it's peacefully in old age or hit by a bus or lightly tapped with an axe, I'm going to let out an exasperated sigh because I'm always letting out exasperated sighs. Yeah. So why wouldn't I die the way I lived?
That's the same for me. I know that when I go, I'm going to go. So yeah, mild head connection with an axe. Like, is it painful? Sure, but he fades away so easily that it seems
like his head's like a soft cheese.
Right.
I also what I love about it is that it's one of those classics where it's like it's very clear that they're angling him away from camera just enough to do the head wound reveal.
Yeah.
And I think that and so that might account for the kind of the stiffness with which he responds to being sliced open with an axe.
Yeah. And the sound effect that sounds like someone hit a wood block also really makes it come to life. It's a good one. All right. Well, before we go, of course, we want to know what's going on with you, Galen. Where can people find you out there on the World Wide Web?
You can find me most actually, I'd say on the Instagram, Galen Howard, all one word. I post things that I'm doing, or and anything else that's that's a distraction from the insanity of being alive.
Sure, that's what
social media is all about.
Surely, that and driving us insane. All right, Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and music and not music. What the hell am I talking about? Where'd that even come from?
We talked a lot about music here.
Music and television and pop culture on my newsletter, GinaWatchesThings.ghost.io. And I, too, am on Instagram under Gina Does Things, and Blue Sky sometimes, also under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Find us on Patreon for lots of bonus content. You can reach out to us on Spotify. Rate and review us on Apple, iTunes. Not iTunes. I've gone back 5 years.
We're doing great.
Apple Podcasts. And that helps us be seen and heard by more people. Find us on social media everywhere but Twitter. Fuck that place. And that just about does it. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself, Gina, and Galen. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.